Hello everyone, today we will take an easy lesson, compare fractions, but this time we will use a benchmarks and I will teach you and I will explain for you what is benchmarks means in this lesson. Now we will watch this video, then we will solve some exercises in the book.
How can benchmark numbers be used to compare fractions? Think about this question during the lesson. Carrie wants to buy 2/6 of a container of roasted peanuts. Alan wants to buy 2/3 of a container from a same-sized container of roasted peanuts. Who will buy more peanuts? What are you asked to determine? What is important to know before you compare fractions? You are asked to determine the person who will buy more peanuts. Before you compare fractions, it is important to know that the wholes are the same size. You can compare fractions to commonly used benchmark numbers, such as 0, 1/2, and 1.
So here, let's try.
Select a fraction to place it on the number line. What conclusions can you make?
2/6 located in the second point out of 6, 1/2 in the middle, and 2/3, which is more than half. So what conclusions can you make? So here we are comparing these two fractions, the 2/6 and 2/3. We will use the benchmark half, so we will compare both fractions to the half, which one is less than half and which one is more than half. And as we see that 2/3 is more than half, so 2/3 is more than or greater than half, and 2/6 is less than half. So because 2/3 is more than half and 2/6 is less than half, so I can conclude that 2/3 is greater than 2/6.
Compare each fraction to the benchmark number 1/2. Then see how they relate to each other in size. 2/6 is less than 1/2. 2/3 is greater than 1/2. Without looking at the containers, how can you tell that 2/6 is less than 2/3? You can tell that 2/6 is less than 2/3 because the numerators are the same, and you can compare the denominators. The fraction with the greater denominator is less than the other fraction.
So here, as we took in the previous lesson, that if we want to compare two fractions with the same numerator, the number or the denominator that has less denominator, the fraction will be greater than the other fraction.
What is the missing symbol?
Select your answer.
So here, as a conclusion, so 2/3 is greater than 2/6. It means the crocodile will eat the bigger number. The crocodile will eat the bigger number.
2/6 is less than 2/3.
Remember, 2/6 and 1/3 are equivalent fractions.
Alan will buy more peanuts than Carrie. Now you know how benchmark numbers can be used to compare fractions.
Okay, let's move to the questions. In 4 to 6, choose from the fractions 1/8, 1/4, 6/8, and 3/4. Use fraction strips to help. So we can use fraction strips to help. Which fractions are close to 0 than to 1? So any fraction that has a denominator lesser than the any fraction that has a numerator lesser than denominator. So the fraction, for example, the first one, 1/8. He asked me which fractions are closer to 0 than to 1. So 1/8 is very close to 0. Why? Because as we know, 8/8 equals to 1, close to 1, or close to 8. But 1 is very far away from 8. Lesser than 8, it's lesser than 8 a lot. In 4 to 6, choose from the fractions 1/8, 1/4, 6/8, and 3/4. Use fraction strips to help. So here we can use fraction strips to help, or we know that 8/8 equals to 1. So if it is lesser than 8 a lot, like 1/8, it's very close to, to 0. So which fractions are close to 0 than to 1? 1/8, comma, 1/4 is close to 0 than to 1. 6/8 is close to 8/8, which is to 1. So it's not close to 0, it's close to 1 more. And 3/4 also close to 1, it's close to 4/4. But 1/8 and 1/4 is far away from 1. It's close to 0. Question number 5, which fractions closer to 1 than to 0? Closer to 1, which is 6/8 and 3/4. Question number 6, use the two fractions with a denominator of 8 to write a true statement. Out of 8, it means we will use 1/8 and 6/8. Which one is greater? As we know that 6/8 is greater than 1/8. So I will put on the right side the bigger because the sign is open to the right side. Moving to question number 13. In 9 to 14, compare right less than, greater than, or equal. So question number 13, which one is greater? We will use a benchmark as, we will use the benchmark half. So the first fraction 2/6. As we know that half of the 6 is 3. So 3/6, which is equal to half. But this is 2/6. So 2/6, which is less than half. 2/4, what is the half of 4? Is 2. So it means 2/4 equal to half. So as a conclusion, 2/6 is less than half and 2/4 is half. It means 2/4 is greater than 2/6. Another question. Question number 11. Out of 4, the first fraction 3/4. Out of 4, the half is 2. So 2/4 equal half. I will use the benchmark half, and I will compare both fractions to half to see which one is greater. So 3/4, 2/4 equal to half. So 3/4 means greater than half. 3/6, what is the half of 6? Which is 3. So 3/6 equal to half. So 3/6 equal to half, while 3/4 is greater than half, so 3/4 is greater than 3/6. Question number 22. Write each fraction in the correct answer space to show whether the fraction is closer to 0 or to 1. Closer to 0 than to 1. So 1/8, it's closer to 0 than to 1. 6/8 is closer to 1 than to 0. 2/3 closer to 1 than to 0. 3/4 closer . 3/4 closer to 1 than to 0. 2/6 is closer to 0 than to 1. 1/6 also closer to 0 than to 1. Thank you for listening. I wish you understand everything.